As some of you will know, I'm one of those people who gets quite irked by Sky Sports and others trying to erase everything that happened in the top flight of English football prior to 1992. However, if I do a video on a highest scoring top flight 11 in English football since 1888, barely anyone would watch it, and of the few that did, about 80% of them would complain that they hadn't heard of any of the players who featured in the comments. So to save myself lots of hassle, today I am once again propagating an idea that I really don't like. Anyhow, a fair few people have asked me to do a video looking at the highest scoring Premier League 11, and I believe it was even the top comment on a video at some stage. These aren't literally the 11 players who have scored the most Premier League goals, with Peter Crouch at left back and Jermaine Defoe shoehorned into holding midfield, but rather, I've gone with a flat 4-4-2 and then gone position to position, picking out the player with the most goals in each position, as well as adding in a subs bench and a manager at the end. Here is the highest scoring Premier League 11. Goalkeeper: Peter Schmeichel. 5 different goalkeepers have all scored one Premier League goal, namely Asmir Begovic, Brad Friedel, Tim Howard, Paul Robinson and Peter Schmeichel. I can't put all 5 of them in net though, so in the end I've opted for Peter Schmeichel, who is the most prolific of the 5 outside of the Premier League. The Great Dane scored 11 goals in total, 10 at club level and 1 for Denmark. His Premier League goal came in his penultimate season in the league, contracted to Aston Villa, scoring from a corner against Everton. Right back: Steve Watson. The only uncapped player in this entire 11, and also the outfield player with the fewest goals, right back, Steve Watson bagged 26 Premier League goals across 14 seasons in the division. It is worth pointing out that Watson did at times play midfield, but he was predominantly a right back and takes the right back spot in this 11 by virtue of that fact. 12 of his Premier League goals came with his boyhood club Newcastle United, while the other 14 were scored whilst he was at Everton, and the 45-year-old is now the manager of York City. If we considered Ashley Young a fullback, then he would have to make this 11, but I don't, so he doesn't. Centre back: John Terry. No defender has scored more goals than John Terry during the Premier League era. The Chelsea legend scored 41 goals in the Premier League, almost all with his head, and he scored 75 goals in all competitions for club and country. A serial winner, Terry made the FIFA Pro World 11 for 5 consecutive seasons between 2005 and 2009, but his most prolific Premier League campaign was the 2011-12 season, in which he scored 6 goals. Terry now serves as assistant manager of Premier League side Aston Villa. Centre back: David Unsworth. Steve Watson may be the only uncapped player in this 11, but it's probably worth pointing out that David Unsworth only won 1 cap for England. An uncompromising defender who could play at left back but tended to play at centre back, Unsworth scored 38 Premier League goals, just 3 shy of John Terry despite making considerably fewer appearances. All but 5 of his Premier League goals came for Everton, and he now manages the Toffees under-23 side. Left back: Leighton Baines. We stay on Merseyside at left back, meaning 3 of our back 4 scored the lion's share of their goals in the Premier League for Everton. Leighton Baines isn't the only active player in this 11, but he's the only one who is still active and is still playing for a Premier League club. That means the 34-year-old's tally of 32 Premier League goals could still be improved, although he has another goal-scoring fullback ahead of him in the Everton pecking order right now. In addition to being the division's most prolific left-back, Baines has also made 53 Premier League assists, which is more than any other defender. Right midfield: Eden Hazard. Moving into midfield, the number of goals in this 11 naturally increases the further forward you progress through the lineup. Now, Eden Hazard isn't someone who is used to playing on the right of a 4-man midfield in a 4-4-2, and if you want an out-and-out right-sided midfielder, then David Beckham is your man. I decided Hazard was close enough and capable enough to play on the right of midfield that this one was justified, but I can understand those who would disagree. A Chelsea player up until the summer just gone, Hazard scored 85 Premier League goals in total, although he never had a 20-plus goal season. The supremely talented 28-year-old, who won the Premier League Player of the Year award in 2014-15, now plays for Real Madrid. Central midfield: Frank Lampard. There are no prizes for guessing that Frank Lampard would be in this 11, given that he is by far the most prolific non-forward of the Premier League era. A relentless goal-getter from midfield, Lampard bagged 177 Premier League goals in total, a tally bettered by only 3 players. His most prolific Premier League campaign was the 2009-10 season, in which Lampard scored 22 goals, and the Englishman scored a remarkable 312 goals in all competitions as a player. Even if one went beyond the Premier League era, I suspect Frank Lampard would stand a strong chance of making this 11 in central midfield. Central midfield: Steven Gerrard. Although Frank Lampard scored considerably more goals than Steven Gerrard, the Liverpool legend is still the second highest scoring midfielder of the Premier League era. It wasn't until his 8th season in the Premier League that Steven Gerrard hit double figures, but he had a few really prolific seasons in his prime. The 2008-09 season, in which Gerrard played much further forward just off Fernando Torres, was his most prolific, bagging 16 league goals. As well as being the two highest scoring midfielders of the Premier League era, Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard also rank highly among the top assist providers. Frank Lampard has the third most with 102, whilst Gerrard comes in fourth with 92. Left midfield, Ryan Giggs. Talking of the assist charts, on the left flank we have the man with the most assists of any player in the Premier League era by an absolute mile, and that man is Ryan Giggs. In addition to his 162 assists, Giggs also scored 109 Premier League goals, which is more than any other left winger. In fairness, Giggs has played more Premier League games than any other player, with the exception of Gareth Barry. Having retired in 2014 following 24 trophy-laden season at Old Trafford, Giggs now manages the Welsh national team. Centre forward, Alan Shearer. No player has scored more goals during the Premier League era than Newcastle United legend Alan Shearer. A total of 260 Premier League goals is an outstanding record and one which will be tough to beat, although Harry Kane stands an excellent chance if he spends his entire peak years in England. Shearer's tremendous numbers are the result of a relentless consistency when it came to scoring goals season after season. He hit double figures for Premier League goals in 11 seasons, he scored 20 plus goals in 7 seasons and 30 plus goals in 3 seasons. All 3 of those 30 plus goal seasons came while Shearer's at Blackburn, and the 49-year-old now works as a pundit for the BBC's Match of the Day. Centre forward, Wayne Rooney. Partnering Alan Shearer in a strike force that scored a combined total of 790 goals in all competitions for club and country, which is absolutely remarkable, although it is about what Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi have each scored on their own, which is just utterly mind-blowing, is Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney scored more goals for a single club during the Premier League era than any other player, and only Shearer can beat his 208 goal haul. Quite surprisingly, to me at least, Rooney only actually had 2 20-plus goal Premier League campaigns, and they were in the 2009-10 and 2011-12 seasons. England and Manchester United's all-time record goal scorer, Rooney left the Premier League fairly young, and there's still a possibility that he could return to the division should the 33-year-old win promotion at Derby County. The team, including substitutes and a manager. Moving on to our substitutes, and we once again have the same problem of 5 keepers who are tied at 1 Premier League goal, or 4 now, since we've already included Peter Schmeichel. During the 2011-12 season, on an exceptionally windy night at Goodison Park, a Tim Howard clearance caught the wind and bounced over the head of a helpless Adam Bogdan. So I'm going to go with the former US international only recently retired, Tim Howard. The next highest scoring centre-back, trailing John Terry and David Unsworth, is Terry's former teammate Gary Cahill. Formerly of Aston Villa, Bolton and Chelsea, and now at Crystal Palace, Cahill scored 27 Premier League goals in total, including 6 in his best season. The second highest scoring fullback of the Premier League era, actually with more goals than Steve Watson, but not more than our left back Leighton Baines, is Ian Hart. A fan favourite at Leeds United, who once actually scored 18 goals in a single season all competitions, albeit that was at Carlisle United in League One, Hart bagged 28 Premier League goals in total. Moving into midfield, he scores goals Manchester United fans used to sing of Paul Scholes, and they weren't wrong. Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard and Ryan Giggs are the only midfielders to have outscored Scholes, who bagged 105 Premier League goals, all for Manchester United. The 2002-03 season was Scholes' most prolific by some distance, scoring 14 Premier League goals and 20 in all competitions. The other midfielder in this side is Matt Le Tissier, who some may argue was almost a forward, but I'm happy to classify him as a midfielder. Letis, or Le God, as some Southampton fans nicknamed him, scored all 100 of his Premier League goals for Southampton. Even more impressive was the fact that Premier League came in midway through Le Tissier's career and he actually scored 161 top-flight goals in total. Lastly, we come to our backup centre forwards, namely Andy Cole and Thierry Henry. Andy Cole is the third highest scorer of the Premier League era, and he doesn't get anywhere near the recognition that he deserves. Cole was absolutely lethal at his best, and his 34 goal haul in the 1993-94 season at Newcastle is the most prolific season of the Premier League era. Henry was a special footballer aside from just goals, but he was also rather prolific. He bagged 175 Premier League goals, although he will soon be overtaken by Sergio Aguero, who is on 172 right now. In charge of this 11, Frank Lampard is the currently active manager with the most Premier League goals, but he'd have to be a player manager given that he's already in this 11. If you'd rather relinquish him of that burden, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be the next best shout, the current Manchester United manager, having scored a total of 91 Premier League goals. To conclude, the highest scoring Premier League 11 reads like this: Peter Schmeichel, Steve Watson, John Terry, David Unsworth, Leighton Baines, Eden Hazard, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Ryan Giggs, Alan Shearer and Wayne Rooney, with the 7-man bench made up of Tim Howard, Gary Cahill, Ian Hart, Paul Scholes, Matt Le Tissier, Andy Cole and Thierry Henry, all managed by either Frank Lampard or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, in fact please do, and make sure you're subscribed to HITC Sevens, and head over to www.englandsgreatestdefender.com to have your mind blown by the best football book ever written.